Hello and welcome to In the Crease. I'm your host, Karl Moeglein. Breaking news, Tim Thomas has been traded to the Islanders for a conditional second rounder in 2014 or 2015. This is a very interesting deal. Tim Thomas played for the Boston Bruins, but he said he was going to take a break this year. Yes. So he has been traded, and this is while many people would say the Islanders are giving up a second rounder, the big thing is it's conditional. The conditional thing means that the Bruins only get the pick if Tim Thomas goes and plays with the Islanders. Tim Thomas has already been suspended from pay because he didn't report. It's a very interesting deal. This is good because the Bruins needed the cap space, and the Islanders don't mind picking up the goalie that they're not paying for. They also have the rights now to go trade him, which is very big. I would not be surprised if Tim Thomas does come back next year, because he is a good goalie and I think he likes to play the game, but I don't see him being quite as good. He's going to be kind of rusty after a big thing. Alright, on tonight's show, we are going to have a full spectrum of the first 3 weeks of the NHL. Hey, we're already a fifth of the way through this season, over actually, and it's crazy. I mean, this season is going so fast because there's only 48 games, which means it takes very, very little time to get through it. I believe the season's 110 days or something like that. So teams are 115. The teams are playing almost every other day. So it's a short season it's almost half the length, or it's over half the length of the normal season. So it's big. Alright, so we're going to start off our show with the best of the worst. These are the players who are the best players who are having some of the worst starts. I'm going to bring up some of the best players who have yet to score a goal. Phil Kessel, he's played 10 games already. He has 42 shots, which lead the NHL. He leads the NHL in shots, but he has no goals. I find that insane. He does have 6 assists, so he's not completely lacking in any offensive production, but he's having a big issue getting the puck in the back of the net, and this coming from a guy who had 37 goals last year. He's had 30 goals for 4 years straight, and this is big for the Leafs. It's a big deal for the Leafs because they are not getting the scoring out of one of their top scorers. Alright, Henrik Sedin down in Vancouver. He has already played 9 games, and of course I believe his brother has quite a few goals. So he's playing well enough, but he has 6 assists. He's not scoring himself. He always has been the setup man, but to not have any goals through 9 games, that's really, really surprising. Because normally he will have a couple goals by now, at least. He's really lacking in production. Right, Ryan Clough of the San Jose Sharks. He's played 10 games. He has 5 assists, but he has no goals. And he is right now switching between the second and third line in San Jose, switching around a little bit. When Scott Gomez came into San Jose, a few things switched up, especially because they added another center. The Sharks have 8 centers on their roster. They only play 4 a night, so a lot of players can play that position. Makes it really interesting to see who's playing where on game night. Alright, Drew Doughty is out in LA. He is a defenseman, so it's understandable, but he is a guy who normally will score 20 to 30 goals. Of course, this season is very different in the fact that it is so short, but still, he has only 4 assists, again, and this is coming from this LA team who is really lacking in scoring, as I have repeated through many of my shows. This LA team is struggling mightily to get the puck in the back of the net. They are resurging a little bit, but as for now, the puck has just not been tickling the twine. Right, and my last player on my best of the worst list, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He was the first pick in the NHL draft 3 years ago, and last year. And 2 years ago, before Nail Yakubov, after Taylor Hall. He's played 9 goals. He does have 5 assists, but he is really lacking production. This is a guy who has the ability to be a 40-goal scorer in a real NHL season, maybe even 50. He should have at least 20 this year, and it's not looking like he's going to get there if he keeps this pace up. He's played 9 games, so he's almost played a fifth of his games already, and he has no goals. He's set up to have a very lacking season in production. All right, now we're going to go to the top tier of players, the NHL players that have really been leading the pack. Thomas Vanek, he leads the NHL in points with 19. He's played 9 games, so 19 points. He almost got 2 points a game. He just needs 1 point next game to get up to that. He is out in Buffalo, so it's really great for Buffalo to have somebody who's doing this well. He had a 5-point game 2 nights ago, and again, he had a multi-point game. He's really exceeding for a Buffalo team that is really lacking in any strength of whatsoever. He is the only bright spot on this team, as this team lacks goaltending, lacks defense, and lacks any other offense. He is their team, as shown by his +6 plus minus. He has 19 points. He's probably been on the ice for more than that goals, and he's only +6, which means they're getting scored on a lot, and his line's getting scored on a lot, which is really hard to see. Steven Stamkos and Martin St. Louis both down in Tampa Bay. Stamkos has 7 goals and 9 assists. Well, St. Louis, he only has 3 goals, but he does have 11 assists. So those two are both doing really well, and they are playing together, which is why they have similar stat lines reversed, which it's a good combo. St. Louis is a veteran player, while Stamkos is a much younger player, kind of an emerging star, although he has been good for the last couple of years. All right, Patrick Kane, one of the top Americans out there, he's playing with the Chicago Blackhawks. He has, through 10 games, he has 6 goals and 9 assists. And one of the things I noticed on this list is most of these players have more assists than goals. So it's been a big year for assists. You know, most goals have 2 assists on them. It's big down there. All right, so Kane has 6 goals and 9 assists. Yes, so he has 15 points. And he leads Chicago, as well as being 4th in the NHL. Chicago is a team that's leading the NHL they're leading the NHL. So, and he's been the leader on that team, so you got to give him some credit for that. All right, Henrik Zetterberg's having a great year down in Detroit, kind of a comeback year after a less productive year last year. He already has 5 assists and 8 goals through 9. 5 goals, 8 assists through 9 games. That is big for the guy down in Detroit who has been there a while, and many expect to be in his last couple of years. Big resurgent. All right, Patrick Marleau down in San Jose. He's played 10 goals. He has played 10 games. He has 9 goals and he has 5 assists. He leads the NHL in goals, but he hasn't scored since 5 games ago against Anaheim. That was his last goal. That's how hot he started, and that's how cold he is right now. He is not having a good last couple of weeks. All right. When we get back, we're going to look at the scoreboard around the NHL. This is In the Crease on Spreaker.com, national sports station. Stay with us. Hello, welcome back to In the Crease. I am still Karl Moeglein. This is still national sports, and you're still listening on Spreaker.com. All right, we're going to go look at the NHL scoreboard so far today. Montreal and Buffalo are currently 1-1 in that game. That's early second period. Also, early second, Tampa Bay is losing to New Jersey by 1. Florida is losing to Philadelphia 2-1. Those two teams are both kind of been lacking in skill this year, both kind of bottom feeders currently, and that game is midway through the second period. Washington and Pittsburgh, the battle of Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby, who has been on a big upturn lately. Well, that game is good. 1-1, second period, 13 minutes to go. Ottawa leads Carolina 1-0. That game almost done through the first period. Ottawa has been very good this year, although kind of trailing off the last couple of games. Detroit and St. Louis have just started. Detroit looks to get back into a better position as they are been falling back a little, and St. Louis looks to keep up the good work. They're having a great season so far. And I'm going to look ahead to tonight when Chicago faces Phoenix. Phoenix is goalie Mike Smith has been incredible lately. I expect him to have another good game against the Blackhawks, who have not lost in regulation yet. We'll see if the Desert Dogs can knock them off today. All right. I would like to remind you, if you have any questions, I will answer them on our. Just leave them in our comment box below, and I will try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. All right. If you like our show, go like us on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/online sports radio. That's online sports radio, spelled with the 3 words, no extra numbers or capitalizations, just like that. Facebook.com/online sports radio. You can find us at Twitter at National Sports 1. Great place to see all our feeds, and you can have them come to you. That is a great way to keep up with this great network we have here. And you can find our website, which is suddenimpact14.wix.com/national sports. Sudden Impact 14, which is just spelled suddenimpact14.wix.com/national sports. That is our website. If you want to leave us comments, leave them on our Spreaker page, or email us at our email at SpreakerNationalSports@gmail.com to leave us any questions about our upcoming shows or anything else you want to have answered by the Spreaker crew on National Sports. Well, we'll be back with In the Crease as we look at the teams of the NHL and how they've been doing. Stay tuned. Be right back. Hello, welcome back to In the Crease. I'm your host, Karl Moeglein. Just reminding you, I will be here every Thursday afternoon, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific time. Please, if you like me, tell your friends. If you like the network, tell your friends. We always love having viewers come listen to our show. It makes it great. So we're gonna have a segment I like to call Hot, Not, or Just Plain Surprising. I'm going to look at a couple teams from East Division and tell you how they've been playing through the past weeks or even through the season. Really doesn't matter. All right, as I've said before, we're a fifth of the way through the season, and we're going to look at the teams as they are right now. In the Atlantic Division, Pittsburgh has won 4 in a row. They're very hot. They are smoking. They are 7-3, one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference right now. They're looking good, and especially Sidney Crosby, who has just been scoring crazy. It's been great for the Pittsburgh fans. All right, out there, the Islanders have lost 2 in a row, but they still have 4 wins, 1 OT loss, and 4 no regulation losses. They are currently at 8th in the Eastern Conference standings. That's a big spot for them. They have been struggling the last few years, but they're starting to find a groove. I personally think it'd be great for the Islanders to make the playoffs, great for their fans, and it'd be a great story for the NHL to have a team who's been less competitive the last few years to be very competitive now. All right, now we're going to look into the Northeast Division. We're going to look at a Buffalo Sabres team that's lost 3 in a row. As I've said, Thomas Vanek has a great season, but this team has not been doing so well. They currently only have 7 points with their 3 wins and 1 overtime loss, as well as 6 losses through their 10 games. They have been struggling mightily lately. They were doing okay, but now they have been lacking, especially their goalie Ryan Miller, who has been, let's say, weaker than he could have been. All right, down in Boston. Boston has been smoking. 7-1-1. They have 15 points, and they lead the Eastern Conference standings currently. They have been on fire, and they look to continue that into the next coming week. I look to Tuukka Rask as one of the biggest reasons for that. He has come in this year after Tim Thomas was there last year but has taken a break and now is with the Islanders. So Tuukka Rask looks to be the goalie of the future for the Boston Bruins. And this Boston Bruins team is looking to the future right now and saying, it looks good. A team that won the Cup 2 years ago is looking in form for the playoffs already. Could be a contender for another Cup. Alright, down to the Southeast Division. This division is very lacking this year except for Tampa Bay. I've talked about Tampa Bay many a show, and I feel like it's time to talk about some of the other teams in this conference. Florida is the Florida Panthers. They have 3 wins and 1 OT loss to go next to their 5 losses. That is only 7 points, and it's too weak. They have a goalie in net, Scott Clemenson, who is just not doing well. He has been letting in goals left and right, and their offense just cannot put pucks in the net right now. That is a very hard way to win when you don't have a combination of a good goalie and a good offense. Alright, now we're going to talk about the Southeast and maybe the NHL's worst team, which is very surprising. Washington Capitals have only 2 wins to go along with an OT loss through 7 games. That's only 5 points through 10 games. That is a very big disappointment down there so far. Alex Ovechkin has not come out hot, so it's been very rough for that team, who is now looking probably to either trade away players or trade for players, depending on how they feel the season has gone. Roberto Luongo has been mentioned in rumors lately about how he may be heading to Washington, but it is still doubtful that Washington really can get back this season, even with the acquisition of a player like with Luongo or another veteran player who could be traded over to the Southeast Division's worst current team right now, the Washington Capitals. Big surprise in there, but not in a good way. Alright, this is In the Crease. I'm still Karl Moeglein, and we will still be here after this commercial break. Hello and welcome back to In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. We're going to look at the NHL scoreboard of today. 12 teams in action today and 11 currently playing. 12 games and 11 games currently being played. That is 24 teams playing tonight, and it's a big day. Lots of games, lots of scores to take. Alright, New Jersey leads Tampa Bay 1-0. Those teams are pretty evenly matched, although New Jersey has come out a little slower. But Martin Brodeur, the goalie who is future Hall of Famer, has been phenomenal the last few games. That game is about halfway through the second period. The Rangers are up on the Islanders. That is a intercity battle, 2-1. Rangers currently, that is also set halfway through the second period. That Islanders team really needs to get a win soon, otherwise they might fall back down to their usual spot in about 14th place. Right now, Washington and Pittsburgh are still tied at 1. Pittsburgh really needs to beat a struggling Washington team to keep themselves up, and Washington would have a great confidence boost with a win against Pittsburgh and against Sidney Crosby, one of Alex Ovechkin's most hated rivals. Alright. Detroit is still leading 1-0. Detroit is now leading 1-0 over St. Louis. That game is almost halfway through the first period. That is big for Detroit if they can win this game over a strong St. Louis team. Down in Nashville, the Predators are up 1-0 on the LA Kings. The Kings' offense is sputtering. We'll see if they can even get that one goal in right now. Jonathan Quick needs to be better with this team lacking so much in offense. Vancouver and Minnesota have now started play. They are halfway through their first period, and they are still 0-0. That is our scores for now. And remember, any questions in the comment box, and find us on Facebook at facebook.com/onlinespiritsradio, Twitter at nationalsports1, and online at suddenimpact14.wix.com/nationalsports to find our website. You can also leave us comments on our Spreaker page or email us at SpreakerNationalsports@gmail.com. SpreakerNationalsports@gmail.com if you have any questions for us. Well, that will be that will be it for now. But after this commercial break, we will talk more, and we're going to talk about the Western Conference, and a conference that has been looking a lot better than the Eastern Conference right now. And we'll talk about their teams that have been hot and not and just surprising when we come back. Hello and welcome back to In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. We are going to talk about the Western Conference teams that have been hot, not, and just surprising. Chicago has been just plain on fire at 8 wins and only 2 OT losses, no losses in regulation so far. They go against Phoenix this night looking to hold that record up, and I think this team has the ability to have an incredible season, as Patrick Kane has been incredible, and this team looks to be the best team in the NHL right now. I don't see anybody else who could be. The Sharks were considered the second best team in the NHL, and the Blackhawks beat them by 2, coming back from two goal deficits. This team looks to be incredibly strong, and I don't see any other team being better than them, other than maybe a Boston in the Eastern Conference. But of course, overall, it doesn't really matter comparing conferences, as the best team in the single conference is more important this season, as there is no inter-conference play, only play within conferences until the Stanley Cup Finals, where Chicago looks to be going. Alright, Detroit currently is 11th in the Western Conference standings. They have 4 wins, but they also have 4 losses to go along with 1 OT loss. This team needs a playoff berth. They haven't missed the playoff in a very, very long time. I'm guessing it goes up exceeding 20 years, most likely. This is a Detroit team that just keeps winning with incredibly international scouting, as well as good general management. This team is normally incredible, and this year has just been mediocre, which is not good enough, and I have a feeling that Detroit fans are not happy with their hockey team right now. Alright, we go down to the Northwest. Vancouver has won 3 in a row to propel itself into the lead in the Northwest Division. They are now have 5 wins and are 2-2, 2 OT losses and 2 losses that are in regulation. This team really hopes to have a good season. We'll see how they do. And Roberto Luongo has been taking starts there, which means he could be less likely to trade. Maybe Corey Schneider gets traded. We'll see. Alright, down in Edmonton, another Canadian team. They are on the opposite end of the spectrum, losing 4 in a row to drop to 4 wins, 3 OT losses, and 4 regulation losses. This team was looking great early on, but they have just not been able to hold up. This team is very young and very talented, but they also have the lack of inexperience. They have the lack of experience, which is really starting to hurt them. Alright, now we go down to the Pacific. In the Pacific Division, Anaheim has won 4 and taken the lead in that division. They are now 7 wins and an OT loss as well as a regulation loss. This team is doing incredibly well, and they've really become hot. Those earlier losses have been put in the back of their minds, and right now all they're thinking is about winning the next game. They are not looking back, and they have really shown that as they beat the Sharks, a team that many thought were not going to lose for a very long time in regulation for the first time a couple days ago. That was a very big win for Anaheim, which put them as probably the top team in the Pacific Division, maybe the second best team in the NHL, probably third. It goes between Anaheim and Boston right now for that position. Of course, San Jose was probably the top team in the NHL, but now they have lost 3 in a row. 1 OT loss, which was their first loss, and that was against the Predators, but then they've lost 2 straight against 2 of the top teams in the NHL. Chicago and Anaheim, that's after starting 7-0, and that streak was one of the best in the NHL has seen in a very long time. Patrick Marleau and this entire offense has slowed down. They have been 1-18 on the power play the last 5 games, which is just in remarkably small margin compared to the early season where they were up at 40 or 50%, much of it. which is just an outstanding percent. So it is incredible to see the Sharks team fluttering and looking so bad after being so good this early season. But I think the Sharks team is on a place where they're probably not going to get back, and they could be dropping down soon enough to maybe being a low playoff seed. I do see them playing in the playoffs, but not as a high seed. No, I do not. I think this team is just not playing well enough right now, and I don't think they'll play well enough the rest of the season. They had a great streak to begin, but I don't know if they can continue playing well, and they've showed they can't right now. Alright, we'll be back to conclude this episode of In the Crease with Karl Moeglein right after this break. Hello, and welcome back to In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. We are going to close out this show with predictions for the week ahead. What I think that the Sharks are going to flutter again, probably ending up in the next 3 games. I believe they're going to be 1 OT loss, 1 regulation loss, and only 1 win for that team who is going to continue to struggle. I think Chicago is going to earn their first regulation loss tonight against Phoenix. One team I think is going to do better. I think Washington will be able to come back slowly and be able to have a week that's above 500 for them. I think that Tim Thomas is going to make a statement saying that he is going to retire after this trade. I don't think he likes the idea of playing for New York, and I don't think he will. I think that of the 5 players I mentioned earlier, at least 3 will get their first goal. I think it'll probably be Sedin, Kessel, and Drew Doughty. Those are players who are playing on teams that are uprising. I really think that Phil Kessel is the most likely out of those teams. Alright, this has been In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. Please contact National Sports on Facebook at facebook.com/onlinesportsradio, or find us on Twitter at National Sports 1. Find us on our website, suddenimpact14.wix.com/nationalsports, or our email account, Spreaker nationalsports@gmail.com. For National Sports Radio on Spreaker.com, this has been In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. Thank you for listening. Tune back next week at Thursday at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern to continue to listen to NHL coverage. Thank you for listening.